Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, today I have a couple of encounters with stalking black wolves of a mysterious origin, and another encounter with the black-eyed kids. Both accounts are truly astounding and very intriguing. So let's get into the first article. Stalked by black wolves, intelligent beast terrify Indiana family. Hear exactly what this family dealt with and how it affected them afterwards. Let's get into the article now by reading this brief blurb describing the story first. A family in New Washington, Indiana had a chilling encounter with 5 massive jet black wolf-like creatures watching their children play. Despite being heavily armed, the witness recalls seeing face-to-face with the beasts for hours as they stared back with unnerving intelligence. It was a summer weekend in New Washington, Indiana, about 6 years ago, shortly after the 4th of July. A man and his family were enjoying a peaceful evening on their 2-acre property, which bordered a 60-acre expanse of farmland and woodland. The night should have been filled with the joyful noise of children. 5 nieces and nephews bouncing on the backyard trampoline, his wife tending the garden, but instead it became a moment that would forever alter their perception of reality. The wife was the first to notice them. Bursting into the house, she frantically told her husband that wolves were watching their children from the field. Dismissing the idea, he assured her that Indiana had no wolves, perhaps only coyotes. But she insisted, no, they're humongous. Alarmed, he retrieved a 9mm pistol from the bedroom and stepped outside. In the open field beyond the house, 5 massive, jet-black figures sat motionless, their eyes fixed on their children. At first glance, they resembled enormous German shepherds, but darker, larger, and far more unnerving. Their fur was the color of an unlit television screen, a flat, lifeless black that seemed to swallow the light around it. Even seated on their haunches, their heads rose 3.5 to 4 feet above the ground. Their large eyes and thick, wolf-like manes gave them an almost otherworldly presence. Rushing his nieces and nephews indoors, the man armed himself further, this time with a 12-gauge shotgun and a Ruger AR-15. He loaded a 30-round magazine and returned to the porch, watching the creatures from a close vantage. They had either shifted nearer or his fear magnified the distance. Regardless, they were still there, their gaze locked on him. He never raised his weapons, never fired a shot. Instead, he sat on the porch as the creatures sat in the field. Hours passed, dusk settled into the night, and still they watched, unmoving. Only when complete darkness fell did he retreat inside, locking the doors and securing the home. At around 2:15 a.m., the family was jolted awake by 2 heavy bangs on the side of their trailer. It sounded as though something massive had slammed into the structure or struck it with tremendous force. By morning, they discovered 2 large indentations high on the siding, nearly to the roof line, as though something powerful had hit the walls with fists or thrown heavy objects. The terror didn't end that night. His brother, who lived 7 miles away, would later experience his own chilling encounter. While teaching his daughter to drive near the witness's cornfield after harvest, they spotted one of the black creatures. At first, it appeared to be a massive wolf, but as they slowed the vehicle, the creature rose onto 2 legs. Horrified, they fled, shaken and pale. The brother called immediately, his fear obvious, and later apologized for ever doubting the original story. For the witness, the experience was life-altering. It destroys your world, man. Everything you think you know. You don't know anything. These things are real. They're intelligent. They could hurt you if they wanted. But that night, they didn't. They just watched. And I'll never forget the way they looked at me. They knew exactly what I had in my hands. There was understanding in their eyes. He is not alone in believing these creatures are more than simple animals. To him, they embody something primal, something hidden from the modern world. He even speculates that what we dismiss as myths, dragons, monsters, or prehistory and cryptids, they may all hold truth. Even dinosaurs, those little arms on the T-Rex, that's not what people think. Those were wings. Those were dragons. Everything they say is fake. It's all real. Indeed, folks, he might be, completely and utterly right here, our witness, what he saw. Indeed, when you see these things, it changes you. So, is it possible that myths are real? Let's read on, and we can finally give a few ideas after we're finished. The witness remains adamant that he is not seeking fame, interviews, or public recognition. What he wants is simple, for the truth of his encounter to be heard. We ain't crazy. My wife, my son, my brother-in-law, my nieces, we all saw them, 5 of them, stalking and watching my kids. People can laugh all they want, but I know what I saw. These things are real. Indeed, folks, to this man, it's been proven that these things are real and that all that people say that they have seen is indeed real. So, what can I say about this, folks, is that once again, we are left with a question. If these things are real, does that mean our world is truly not what we believe it is, that it's far more? Indeed, folks, I believe that is the truth. But let's move on to another article, and then we can discuss this story and this other story I have here. Black-eyed soulless boys beyond the fence, in a little more detail in exactly what and who these entities are. So let's get into this article now. A childhood memory resurfaces of two pale, black-eyed boys who appeared in a backyard one evening, silent, lifeless, and frozen in time. Though they looked human, their presence radiated something far more unsettling, leaving a lasting sense of dread and unanswered questions. The first thing I remember seeing is difficult to pinpoint in time because I was very young, probably not even in school yet. I loved being outside, playing in our backyard with my dog, or swinging on my swing. Whenever one of the neighbors came outside, it never felt like a big deal because I knew them well. Our fences were the kind that looked like this, motions with hands, describing a typical chain-link fence. They were wired and poorly constructed, offering little privacy. You could see right through them. On either side of us, the neighbors had similar fences, but on the other side, they had a wooden fence. There was a gap, about 25 inches wide, where you could walk through to access the back area, which featured a tree house and other amenities. It wasn't unusual for the kids in the neighborhood to walk along that little path to the treehouse. It was a very normal thing to do. However, there was one moment that terrified me, and I can't quite make sense of it. I was in the backyard when I suddenly felt like I was being stared at. It generally scares me to talk about. I turned to see where the feeling was coming from, and two boys were standing nearby. They had pale, lifeless faces and wore leather jackets and shoulder-length hair. One looked older and was leaning against the fence, staring intently at me. The other one was kneeling, looking through the gaps in the wall. When I made eye contact with the older boy, it felt as if someone had put a magnifying glass in front of my face, magnifying his features to an inch away from mine. I had never seen anyone with eyes so black and soulless. Even though they looked human, there was something about them that felt off, almost like they were frozen in time. Their hair didn't even move with the wind. That's all I remember about that experience. But as I got older, I realized that I had never seen those boys before, nor have I seen them since. I described them to my family, but none of them recognized anyone who looked like that from the neighborhood. I'm not sure what to make of that encounter, but something about it has always felt unsettling. Throughout my childhood, I encountered many people who had never had an experience like that one, Kay. Alright, Kay's story is, as I've said before, folks, a very unsettling one. Not just intriguing, but truly you get the feeling that these entities, while they didn't physically attack this guy, we almost never really hear about that with these black-eyed kid encounters or with any of these black-eyed entities. But they were threatening, and you almost get the feeling that they could have been just messing with this, well, boy, frightening him for their own amusement, or were they feeding him like some sort of psychic vampires? Because that is something people have basically, well, argued about before, folks, that these entities feed on humans. And what about that encounter in Indiana with that family and these black wolves? Now, at first, they sounded like basically just animals, if only larger, folks, but remember, that man's brother who saw one with his daughter says it stood up on its hind legs. So, undoubtedly, they might have been dogmen, folks, that this man actually encountered. But why were they there? They were definitely intelligent, and what did they want with this family? Perhaps they were feeding on them, maybe psychically, because that's the only thing I can really surmise, folks. But also, why didn't this man call the police? You would think that basically, even though he was watching these entities for hours, he would have had his wife call the police to get animal control and them out there to, well, get these animals. But no. Do you think that maybe this man and his family had their minds somehow, well, altered somehow to keep them from thinking about that? Or was there something else we simply don't know? Either way, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Read comics, they're bad for you. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure to hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.